Hello guys, my name is Grace, known online as MewIsMe700. Before I get to yapping, I want to thank Uplink for reaching out to me and inviting me to host my very first panel. So, super excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone what I do in the Pokemon community here as a Pokemon archivist and historian. We're going to talk more about what it means to be an archivist, or at least like my personal definition of an archivist. It's not really a word or a term that you hear in the Pokemon community. I know you hear the word archivist, you think of like something scholarly, college or high school research related. And I mean, it kind of is. I mean, it is research. To archive something basically means saving historical data or media into a single source. So, for example, there's typically a newspaper archive of your local newspaper online or in a library that stretches back like decades. When you're looking up something as specific as like really weird Pokemon history that I enjoy, Google's just unhelpful. That's where I really have to rely on these other sources for finding the information that I look for. And that's not just jumping onto Yahoo. So the biggest example for this is my Pokemon Center New York website. I am the creator, head author, I own the domain for the website. It gets thousands of views a day for the work that I put into building this website. It launched back in 2017, which is 12 years after the store closed. So from 2005 to 2017, Google offered absolutely nothing on the store. Even though the internet was around during that time period, there was just nothing on the store for whatever reason. I had always had a fascination with the defunct store, and so did other collectors, but everyone was just baffled that there was just literally nothing online about the store. It was almost as if the store just didn't exist. I took the initiative to do the research and get as much as I could together to build this website as a source for collectors like myself, or people that maybe had gone to the store as a kid and wanted to read up about it. And obviously Google wasn't helpful with this information, so I built this website and did hours of research to get what I could. I relied on two main sources to gather this information that Google could not provide for me. The first is Wayback Machine. So Wayback Machine is actually a free internet archive. Wayback Machine is literally the pinnacle of my research. I could not have built most of my website without Wayback Machine. So what Wayback Machine does is it saves web pages as they were at any given point in time and saves it into a single timeline. They have been doing this since the late 90s, basically when the internet started to become really popular. So what this means is through using Wayback Machine, I can look at pretty much any website the way it was as if I were to just type it on a browser back in 2001 or 2002, for example. And as you know, the late 90s and early 2000s was not only the real beginning of the internet for the public, it was also the height of the Pokemon craze. And the Pokemon Company and Nintendo heavily used the internet for sharing Pokemon news and other information. So with Wayback Machine, I have the ability to read what Pokemon's website had out at any given point in time. Now, take this with a grain of salt because not all web pages are archived correctly, or the web page coding isn't compatible with today's technology. There's some data that sometimes just straight up does not load. And it's definitely one of the more painful things to deal with when I'm trying to do my archiving and research. And this past December, all of the major internet browsers decided to stop support for Flash, which if you don't know, Flash is a software, I guess it's a software, that a lot of web pages were based off of during this time period in the late 90s and early 2000s. And they're gone. There's no support for it anymore. I've heard that there is some ways to view these web pages, but I haven't really played with it as of now. If you pull Wayback Machine up for a website that was in the early 2000s and it was based off Flash, it's not gonna load. So that was definitely a huge hit to my research. So with Wayback Machine, I went on to Pokemon Center's website as it was in 2001 and 2005, which gave me just tons of interesting information. such as the stuff that the store was selling at the time, the events that they were holding, dates for certain product launches, photos that weren't on Google, stuff like that. And it definitely offered some key items for my website. But what the website really didn't offer was a thorough background of the store. And that's where print archives come in, such as newspaper and magazine archives. At the time I was building the website, I had access to my college newspaper and magazine archives. National newspaper and magazine archives, unfortunately, you typically have to pay for on a monthly basis, but through my college, it was included with my tuition for, scholarly research. So I did what research I could do while I had access to these archives. I don't have access to it anymore since I'm not in college anymore. I do have access to local newspaper archives through the Library of Virginia, since I am a resident of Virginia. But these newspaper and magazine archives led me to just tons of articles that gave me a better background on the planning and the people behind the building of the store. And some of these primary sources I do have posted to the website. So now we're going to pull up the website and I'm going to show you some of the key items that I have found in my research. Then we're going to play with the Internet Archive a little bit and I'm going to show you how the Internet Archive works. So let me pull it up here. All right. So this is the homepage to my Pokémon Center New York historical website, which basically just introduces people to what the website and what it is. The graphics you see were actually the original graphics that were pulled up on the original Pokémon Center website. We'll get to the bread and butter here, the history tab, which talks about the planning of the store. And again, this entire article I wrote, and I have quotes and other things that I pulled straight from archives. So we have the original press release from the Pokémon website, which this hyperlink takes you to Wayback Machine and brings you to that press release. So here is an example of Wayback Machine. Like I said, we'll play with it a little bit here in a bit. It takes a little bit to load. Here at the top is the timeline I'm talking about. So this was screenshotted November 19th, 2001, which was a few days after the store opened. And that is the full press release right there that I do have pasted on my website. And then another fun find is this video. When I built this website, the only known footage of the store was the commercial. There's none up until I found this footage. This footage was actually found through the archived website of Color Kinetics, which was the company that designed the lighting interior for the store. I knew that they were associated with the project and looked at their archived website, and I found this footage through the website back when they had it up in 2002. And luckily, the file for the video was not corrupted, so I managed to download it and found the very first known footage of Pokémon Center New York that was not the commercial. Not very long, but have your statue mobiles, the lighting set up for the magical Pokeball that they had at the store. And basically this was just kind of like a resume piece for Color Kinetics. You know, they had this on their website to show potential clients what type of lighting they can do. Look at those amazing statues. They're all in a dumpster now, or in a landfill somewhere. It just upsets me so much. So cool. The store was so amazing. I'm so upset I never got to see it. As I said, there's this footage and the commercial. There's no other known footage of the store. That is one of my lost media things that I would hope to find one day, is more footage of this store, especially of the animatronics, because there's no footage of the animatronics moving. I would love to see that one day. Here's actually a really bad photo of the animatronics. The early 2000s was really before the digital age, so I understand there's probably a ton of photos sitting in people's attics and closets and photo albums, and it just pains me that there's all this Pokemon history just sitting in people's closets. We have a tab for the gaming distribution events. So this was a big project done by my co-author Julie, aka 2LoveL from Vine on Instagram, and Retro Alley and Hard for Games. They worked on an archival project, archiving some of the gaming distribution events they did at the store. I don't know anything about games, that's why I did hire Julie to write this article. So if you're into Pokemon distribution events during that time period, I highly suggest reading it. It's super interesting. Basically, the store had this machine you could plug in your Game Boy into, and you plugged your game into, and it gave you a special Pokemon. And one of the former employees of the store actually found one of the discs that was associated with this machine and sent it to Hard for Games to restore, essentially. So go check it out if you're into that type of thing. And that's, again, just the whole part of archiving Pokemon history. We don't want that to just disappear. So then we have an original media tab, which I have some screenshots from the original website, which again was through Wayback Machine. There's not a whole lot on here because most of the website just wouldn't load. And then we have print media, which is some articles from magazines or other pamphlets that I've had people send in to submit to the website. This screenshot right here is actually from the Color Kinetics website, which is where I found that footage. Some other magazines. And then I had newspaper articles on here at one point, but I think I took it down out of fear of like copyright. So I didn't want to get like a copyright strike for publishing a newspaper on here. So I mean, it's been a big project, and I'm really glad to have seen it grown to this point after, 5 years after launching it, because there was nothing online for the store. This is the now one place to look if you have some sort of curiosity about this defunct closed store. It's here on my website, PokemonCenterNewYork.com. Now we are going to play with Wayback Machine. So we're going to go to the homepage, which is web.archive.org, and you're going to get this page right here, and that's where it's going to want you to type in a URL of a website. So we are going to do www.pokemon.com. So it's going to bring you up with a timeline. As you can see, it starts with 1998, which is the first documented screenshot, all the way up into today, 2021. And you can see these little black bars. The taller the black bar is, the more that is archived on it. So we're going to go back to 2000. And you're going to see a calendar of the year 2000 with little bubbles on certain dates. Each of these bubbles represents dates that there are screenshots of the website archived. So we're going to check out May 10th, because that is a nice fluffy bubble. Did I just describe a bubble as fluffy? And here we have the Pokemon World website on May 10th, 2000. So the homepage has some Pokemon news. So it looks like the Gold and Silver games were released at a press conference. So we'll click on that and see what that has to offer. And it pulls up with some photos of the press release day for the announcement of Gold and Silver. And that was announced June 18th, 2000. And then we will go back. So you can see, once you get on Wayback Machine, it is a lot of stuff to click on and play through. Especially on the Pokemon website, like, there is surprisingly a lot archived. One of my favorite tabs is the goods section, which shows like what merchandise was out during that time period. So we have one of my favorites, the Kraft Pokemon Macaroni and Cheese. Click on that, and this was essentially just a quick article on the Kraft Pokemon Mac and Cheese that came out, which talks about like the coins on the back and the different characters you can get on the boxes. And then something more that I would do is I would go look on Kraft's website and see if they had anything on Pokemon on there. So it's just kind of like a hole you start digging, and then you just keep digging and digging and digging. Like, I can literally spend hours on the archive just sitting and clicking on different things like this. Talked about the Game Link cable, the Nintendo Power subscriptions, the marbles. This is one of my favorites, the Catch the Sneak Pikachu webcast. So that is actually one of my favorite cases of lost Pokemon media. So basically what this show was it was basically like a fashion show of Pokemon merchandise that Hasbro hosted at, I think it was at one of the toy fairs in New York. And basically kids ran across the runway holding up Hasbro's new line of Pokemon toys. And they live broadcasted it on the Pokemon website when it came out in 2000. But no one saved it. Like, this webcast was not saved anywhere. So it is officially a case of lost Pokemon media. I want to do a video on it eventually, there's just so many cases of lost Pokemon media, and I have a whole series on my channel called Lost Pokemedia where we talk about these types of things that are just lost to time. So let's see what else we got on here. Then we have events, which is how I learned about a lot of the Pokemon stuff that was going on. And I'll also show you how to navigate Wayback Machine while you're actually on a web page. So you have the timeline here at the top. And you can see as I move my cursor over these lines how the date changes. So sometimes you can like skip ahead. So if we skip to September, we can see this web page as it was a few months ahead, and there might be different content on it. So as you can see, it changed. Now it has a event tab on the Pokemon Live show. So this brings us to the announcement of Pokemon Live, which if you didn't know what Pokemon Live was, it was a Pokemon stage show that traveled across the country and Canada and did a live performance. It failed miserably, but that was this. So then it has the list of all the dates that they were playing, which again, if you were to look on Google right now, you probably would not be able to find like these exact dates and locations that these happened. So that's why Wayback Machine is really cool. And then we have the official Pokemon Live website at the bottom. Let's see if that's archived. Again, we're just digging through a hole, digging deeper into the hole. So then we got the Pokemon Live website. You can see we had something that's not going to load because Flash Player is no longer supported. So unfortunate, I can't get over it. Buy tickets, register, show dates and times, tour dates. Let's see what happens when we click that. Yep, so we got another calendar showing all the times that the show played in New York. And then a list of all of the shows that traveled the country. So I had one that was in Fairfax, which is about 2 hours from me. Yeah, so that's essentially Wayback Machine, and that is essentially what I do as an archivist. It's really fun. I mean, it's not hard. You just have to learn how to navigate Wayback Machine. It takes a little bit to get used to because a lot of times you can hit dead links and you gotta make your way back to a live link. So now we're back to the Pokemon news section, where we can see the 9 Welch's Pokemon jelly glasses. Those are a classic. I know everyone at least had one of those jelly jars growing up where you got your juice out of. So here is Welch's little contest that they had here, which again, if you were to go on Google and look up Welch's Pokemon contest, there's probably not going to be anything. And then you can go on Welch's website and go on their archived website. So it's just so important to not let this stuff die, especially when Pokemon is becoming as popular as it is again. And I just get so much enjoyment out of, people messaging me like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about this. Thank you for bringing back these memories. I had that as a kid. Like, something about feeling that nostalgia is just a special feeling you can't get anywhere else. And I love doing that through Pokemon. So